It's better to look good than to feel good.
Yes, that's true. It is. It's better to look good. Do you remember? You remember who said that?
Yes, Billy Crystal, you look marvelous.
Yep. Hey, this is Johnny Bean, live hangout. Does this count for Friday's uh, show? Maybe,
Um,
maybe. Hey,
depends.
Johnny Bean, David Nesdahl,
Yo,
Allen Garber.
Howdy.
Hey, yeah. So Allen wants to do a lesson for y'all, and yes. So hey, what are we doing?
Hey, so I thought I might talk a little bit about the Hear About It Later intro. You know, a while back it was the anniversary of Fair Warning, and you guys did a hangout, couple of hangouts about that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but you know, we didn't stick too well to the topic of Fair Warning. But I thought I'd bring it all back in to talk about what I think or what I've learned is going on with the intro to Hear About It Later. It's one of the songs that one of the few songs that we kind of have a confirmation that we know what type of guitar he was using specifically for that intro. It's kind of similar to the way he did the Women in Love intro on Van Halen 2. We know that he used the unfinished Boogie Bodies guitar with the Dan Electro neck and the single coil pickups with the one Telecaster pickup in it that ended up being the
Mm-hmm.
neck pickup on the Frankenstein later on. And you know, we know, you know, essentially how he did that intro. And the intro of Hear About It Later is sort of a similar type of deal where, you know, he plays this beautiful uh, intro piece with like a little chorus on it, and then it just goes into the heavy rock thing, and he's experimented with that sound quite a bit, like the little love song bit from the Wildlife soundtrack. That's kind of in a similar vein where he's probably playing
Mm-hmm.
on a clean Strat, you know, and he likes Strats for these clean intros. And I think that kind of goes back to a lot of his, you know, a lot times he'd always say, "Oh, I can get," and you know, there's just certain cool, clean things that you can do with a Strat that you just can't do with your
mhm.
typical super Strat single humbucker guitar like he was playing. You know?
Yeah, he's probably recording that through his Bandmaster amp too.
Could be,
That,
or if we hear about it later, it could have been direct too because it's
yeah,
so clean. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
I heard it was maybe direct.
it's like it might be direct to me. I mean, that's my supposition because it's so clean. I mean, it's very hard to get that clean of a sound. I'm currently right now. I'm just kind of I have my own little setup where I'm using my 65 Fender Super Reverb on the reverb channel with just a hint of reverb. I'm up to about maybe five and a half of reverb. Um,
that's a hint.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
slightly more than a hint.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. As an owner of one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So.
Yeah.
But that's my half-ass attempt to try to recreate what's going on in the studio because in the studio he's clearly got some good reverb and a nice little the delay on
Huh? That's some delay.
He's gone.
this, there's a slight delay. It's a real quick bonk bonk and it's like
That's a long
a
delay,
little
huh?
bit
There's a
back. Like
there's a
the
slight
delay
delay.
part of
There's a
that
slight delay
is
here too.
somewhat subtle, I think. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's not quite as strong as you might hear in the intro to "Ain't Talking About Love" or something like that, where you can really hear that echo repeat super loud. But for anybody who doesn't know, as David had pointed out earlier, a lot of great songs on Fair Warning were in the drop D tuning, and Hear About It Later is no exception.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and drop D, of course, is where you tune your low E down to D. And of course, everybody has their D tuners out there in internet land, and it's pretty easy to get into that tuning. Um, I will say that of course I always go on about the tuning, and this song, as I have figured it out, at least the intro has a specific weird tuning that's not exactly 100% according to Hoyle, right on the money, half step down. In fact, the A, D, and G strings are minus 22 cents from one half step down. So it's a little bit lower than a half step on those strings, the A, D, and G strings. And then the B and E strings are tuned minus 34 cents down, and the low E is tuned minus 34 cents down. So again, from low to high, it's the low E string tuned down to D, tuned a half step down, but down, and then the A, D, G strings are minus 22 cents down from a half step down, and then the B and E are minus 34 cents down, just like the low now D string is. So if you got all that, the intro, we know Eddie's mentioned it in interviews, and you can kind of really tell by just listening to the record. He used a standard Stratocaster. It may have been.
And there he goes.
Huh? No, he's here. He's here, but the connection. Oh, there he goes. We just lost him. Alan! I'm not distorting, am I? Hopefully not.
No.
Hopefully not.
And there he goes.
Okay, let me try to get him back here.
Oh.
maybe he'll jump back in. Yeah, his connection seems.
Yeah, it's weird.
Seems.
And I don't get all that. I mean, I understand 34 cents down from half step, but that sounds to me like that would be way out of tune.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't know. Let's get him back in here, though. Also, Alan. I guess you're not watching, although you'll probably watch this later. You'll probably hear about this later. You'll hear about it later. Alan, you're not watching yet. I'll explain this when you come back, though. But you should play the riff first and then explain all that stuff, because people are falling asleep, man. I'm sorry.
And don't explain so much. Don't explain so much.
Explain it while you're playing it or after you play it. People want to hear what you're talking about. People joining in have no idea what you're even saying. And I'm not bagging on you. I'm just saying that's okay. All right, let's
smile and nod.
Alan, we lost you. Oh, you're back.
He's here. He's here. Well, sorta. His avatar, his A is here.
It's an A for you?
It's a green A.
Oh, for me, it's like a person. It's like a head and a body, and it says Alan.
Oh, how about
there he is.
Yeah, for me, it's just... Hello?
Yo.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Well...
We hear you. Hey. Yeah, so hurry up and play the riff before you get kicked out again.
I know. Lousy internet. Sorry about that.
No, funny.
I don't know where it stopped, but how far did I get?
It doesn't matter. Just
play the song. Play the song, please. Play the tune and explain it after you play it.
Okay.
I just have one thing. I have one thing to ask. 34 cents down from E flat and all that stuff. I mean, to me, that sounds like that would be really out of tune. I mean,
that's why there's chorus.
Yeah.
The chorus brings it back into tune.
Does it really?
Makes sense.
Well, okay, here, Johnny has a point. Of course, there's no chorus on the song. It's just the MXR flanger, okay?
Oh, well, that's what I meant, yeah.
So the flanger does sort of bring it somewhat back in tune. But this is not the only Van Halen song where it's like that. Like I've said, there's a lot of.
Oh, I know.
Like,
I get it. I just don't understand how to our ears it still sounds in tune when that's a lot of sense out of tune.
Absolutely. It's one of those weird things, especially about Van Halen songs. But it goes back to like that's a whole other topic, really. But like whenever you drop D. You want to probably tune few cents down anyway, because when you when you're
I know,
in drop
because
D,
the other strings, the other strings go out of tune a little bit because of the tension. I get that.
Absolutely, and you understand that because you guys use your detuners a lot, and you probably have those set up to compensate a little bit, and so in this particular song, the B and the E strings are also tuned down to the same degree as that low E was. So it's kind of weird, but that's how it is.
Cool.
And as Johnny says, it's true that our flanger does compensate for that quite a bit.
Right.
I'll do what Johnny says, that up and play the intro, and then discuss a little bit. So we're tuned up, and we know he was on a Strat. I'm playing my Strat, and the deal with the sound is that it's middle position between the neck pickup and the middle pickup. So it's that out of phase sort of Mark Knopfler.
Number 4.
So anyway, here I go. I'm going to play it. Stop laughing.
Number 2.
No, number 2 is between the bridge and middle pickup.
I'm talking about something else. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, man. That sounded exact. I closed my eyes, man. That sounded exact.
Dude, are you just miming the record? We can't see your fingers. I don't think you're actually playing that. See, that's why we need to see your fingers.
That's right. I think you're lying to us, Alan. That's you're not playing that.
Is Edward there? I think Edward is off camera actually playing. Man, that sounds amazing, man. It sounds exact.
Well, that's the whole trip. Like, it's one of the easiest ones to call, because if you got a standard Strat and you're on that middle position between the bass and middle pickup, and you're tuned correctly, like if you're tuned exactly to the record like I am, and then you put your MXR flanger on the standard Eddie setting, which is 1130 on the first 3 knobs and all the way up on the regeneration knob, the last knob, as we've talked about in other hangouts. And then if you put a dotted 8th note delay and a smidge of reverb, you're really in the ballpark. Again, the only thing that I'm missing is a compressor, and there's a lot of compression on the recorded version. Probably tube compression from the console, I would imagine. I believe on the recording, as we were saying, I think it may have been direct for that intro recording. So the compression makes it also really come alive. That's about the only thing that I'm missing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there's nothing like a Strat with a compressor, man. That's
exactly.
Well, that is that 80s pop sound. Not that that's 80s pop. Don't get me wrong, everybody. But
Right.
but a compressor with a Strat, that's the tone.
Right,
That's
and
that
particularly
tone.
when you're using the out of phase positions with a compressor, the sort of Mark Knopfler tones, like that is whenever somebody who doesn't know what compression is, because sometimes people ask me what it is and how to describe it. And the best example that I can give of compression is the solo from Nowhere Man, where John and George are playing the Sky Blue Stratocasters, and there's a whole bunch of compression on that solo section. You can't mistake it. It's like the best example of compression on an electric guitar that I can imagine, and that is essentially what's going on with the Women in Love intro and this. Very similar to the sound on Nowhere.
Real quick, explain to people what does a compressor do? What is it? Why do people use it?
Well, the compressor does, well, there's two things. There's compression and limiting, and both of those things kind of work in tandem with each other, where it essentially makes your pick attack even. It makes the quieter notes jump out more and the louder notes push back a little, so that there's an even sound to it. And when you get pedal compression, it's much different than it tends to be different than studio compression, because when you use compression in a studio, or a particular like an old tube compressor, it sounds really completely better than it does in most pedals. There's some really good pedals out there like the Jangle Box, and there's some other really great compressors, but
Keeley 4-knobs. Keeley 4-knob compressor.
Absolutely. Excellent one, yeah. The really good compressors tend to be a little more high dollar, although I got along just fine. I used to play some Pink Floyd covers, and I used to use my Boss CS2 compressor to play the steel guitar parts on say Great Gig in the Sky and Breathe, from Pink Floyd. That's you'll hear a lot of compression there, but that's the only key thing that I'm missing here in my little setup. And I'll go through another couple of little things that's helpful when you play that. Like you're definitely going to palm mute most of that intro, particularly on the bass strings. There are a few moments where you obviously let the chords ring, say the opening thing is an A chord, just an A power chord, and you kind of want to snap the notes a little bit on the G string as it is on the record, and you're kind of palm muting the A and the D string when you start that off. So it's, and then the same thing when you go up to the
snap that
B
G string.
So there's a little trick to it. You do want to kind of palm mute the bass notes throughout the song.
And real quick, you're explaining how to get the tone. You're not actually explaining how to play the part.
Yeah, the part, I mean, I can't explain it. It would take me a long time to explain it. I would just say, as I said before, if you haven't gotten all of the official Van Halen tab books, they're not all correct. There's many mistakes in them, but I really say that they are a very good place to start if you're learning Van Halen music. And it just so happens that they have the intro tabbed correctly in the official tab book for Hear About It Later. That's one thing that you can take to the bank. I know that is transcribed correctly, so
and
I'd be happy.
Was that Andy? Was that Andy Aldor?
Did Andy do this one? I don't know. Let's see. Could have been. Let's see.
Or was it Wolf?
No, this was There's three guys: Brad McPhail, Steve Gorenberg, and John Chappell. This is the old version that I have here. I don't know if you can see that one. This was the Cherry Lane Publishing authorized guitar for the practicing musician version. There's a newer one that's done by Alfred Publishing that's out now that I think has maybe updated transcriptions, and Andy may have worked on that one, perhaps, or it could have been some of these other guys. But either way, both of those are going to have the correct notes for the opening, for the intro of that, and a lot of that is correct in there. There's not as much wrong with that one as I've seen it. So.
What was that?
Nothing.
We know that wasn't Allen because he's on Clean Channel.
So you might be able to hear that little dotted eighth note. It's just a bonk, 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 bonk. That's an eighth note. And I've got the mix turned down. The mix isn't super high on the record, like I said, and that really helps to thicken it up.
Man, that's such a great. Would you call that a riff? What would you call that?
I just call it an intro. It's so great.
Intro.
It's like the Women in Love intro. People often talk about the Women in Love intro and how cool that is with the tapped harmonics, and it really is, and I love playing that. but with a similar setup, you've got this end, but now it's in drop D, and I think Hear About It Later just to me is like, it may be the ultimate Van Halen song to me. It may be my favorite and what I might consider to be their greatest song. Period. Maybe. It's one of the ones, like a lot of songs on Fair Warning. We know for a fact that Eddie wrote Hear About It Later on the piano, and there's some interesting, really interesting chords in there. Not too weird. He's still playing, same kind of suspended chords that he uses a lot, but it sounds super cool, but not just the intro, but the entire song is just amazing to me. Even Dave's lyrics are, they're not Bob Dylan, but it's one of the better lyrics from Dave, I think. At least he sings those lyrics with a hell of a lot of guts, and the backing vocals and the drum. I mean, I love the tone of that song. I mean, everything about that song kills me. I think it's one of the best solos he's ever done. There is some harmonizer later on in the track on the distorted electric parts, and I think the Strat flies in, with a distorted sound maybe a little bit later in the song, but I believe most of the rest of the song is done just with the Frankenstein. As far as I can tell, although there's no 100% confirmation on that or what guitars were used on anything on Fair Warning. As we mentioned when we did the Hangout about Fair Warning, it's sort of a mystery album. Not a lot of information about what guitars were used on which tracks, although we do know that he used the Strat on the intro to Hear About It Later, and we do know that he used the kind of a similar setup for Push Comes to Shove with yet another Strat, with the probably same out of phase sound even. So.
Yeah. I was gonna say that Hear About It Later. Yeah, I mean it is one of their best tunes, for that era, because
absolutely
it kind of has everything in there. It's actually, I mean, it rocks. I mean the solo is insane. So it is a rocker, but it's more of like, it's in between like a ballad and like a rock tune. It's like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and like compositionally, it's like one of the most advanced things that he did. I mean, there's like pre-choruses, and there's the solo by itself. So the solo is so well constructed, and there's the the bridge section before the solo with just the bass and drums breaking down. I love that song so much, and just the intro is so cool, and just another great. Whenever people play their flangers, the first thing that everybody does when they pick up an EVH flanger or when they pick up an MXR flanger is that they'll play Unchained, And when people think of the album Fair Warning, most people might think of Unchained or even Mean Street first, but to me, like, Hear About It Later is almost like just the acme of the album. And the way it was sequenced, it kind of happens in the middle of the record. It's like, I think it's the last song on side one.
Yeah.
If you are old enough to have an LP or cassette player, but I mean, and then Unchained opens the second side, and that whole album was just so ridiculous. And I'm sad that there hasn't been much information on it. But I did want to kind of talk about at least the one thing that I do know about Fair Warning is for sure that intro is done on a Strat, and and that's again the thing. It's the the middle position between the middle pickup and the bass pickup, and that's the long and the short of it. With those other little things in there, but that's the meat and potatoes of it. And you can tell that I know you guys probably aren't blowing much smoke up my butt. It really does sound very, very similar to the record. It's easy for anybody to achieve it, because if you got the old, again, I have to say the old MXR flangers are really the only ones that really perfectly get that sound, as long as you've got the right setting going. You can approximate it with the EVH models, but it's not exactly the same. It's just cool. I love the whole shebang-a-bang.
Right. Here I am. I'm echoing again. Let's see. I had to mute Dave because of his dog. I don't know. Can you unmute yourself, Dave?
There you go. How about now?
There we go. Yeah.
How about, I guess, Alan, you couldn't hear what I was just doing, could you?
No, I couldn't. You were muted. Yeah.
And now I'm in 440.
Right.
I'm using this thing.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, you know how to play it, and I'm not sure because I haven't looked at it, but the Oakland 81 may be in standard tuning.
I
mean,
don't know. I think
drop B,
they're
but
in
it
E
may
flat.
be in 440.
I think they're in E flat. Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I haven't looked at it. The thing about the Oakland 81 version, and I can eventually I'll probably actually dial up that tone on my harmonizer because instead of he does not use the MXR flanger on the Oakland footage. He just uses the harmonizer.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't know. I knew it wasn't a flanger, but I thought it was just like a chorus.
Yeah,
which I guess it would be because that's what he had on his harmonizer.
Correct.
But I mean, there was long delay on that as well, like a long digiplex delay because you could hear it. It was really drawn out when he played it.
Yes, absolutely. When you see that, you can hear. I don't think, and again, he didn't use the MXR flanger on Unchained in Oakland either. It was, he just had the one tone with the harmonizer going, which may have stayed on the entire time, which is kind of why it sounds part of why it sounds a little bit thinner. And people will say like, oh, if you listen to the live Oakland footage and any of the other live footage from '81, you can hear how much thinner it is than the recording. The recording of the whole Fair Warning album has sort of a darkness to it. It's darker material, and the album cover obviously lends itself to that. But yeah, the harmonizer really came into vogue on Fair Warning, and it was the first album where it was majorly used everywhere. I think it was slightly used maybe in some spots on the first album. It was most certainly used on like the overdubs to Jamie's Crying and the overdubs on Dance the Night Away. That certainly has some harmonizer on it. But the Van Halen harmonizer detuned chorus tone that we kind of know that he basically stuck with almost his entire career up until just recently, is that detuned harmonizer sounding, chorus but not a chorus. It's like a non-swirly chorus. It's tough to describe if you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, if you go back and listen go watch the the Hear About It Later from Oakland '81 and just listen to that intro, you'll hear that harmonizer jump out at you.
Yeah, sure. That's awesome. Great stuff, man.
And
I really can't believe
it. Don't you think that's like a total? Remember, like I did the Ice Cream Man thing, and it was such a stretch, with your fingers. Those chords are real wrist breakers on the intro here because you are really just, it hurts.
Well, sure, I can't see how you're playing it. Show me, because I'm playing it. It's not hard for me because I'm not doing it exactly the way you're doing it. I think.
Oh, you may be doing it right. I don't know, but I'm basically just holding the chords as long as I can and just palm muting in certain areas. So I'll roll through it again.
Yeah, just like that, and I'll be able to see it all.
Sure.
I don't know if you can even see this.
I can.
Ah. Ah. I can't. Now. This is the only part.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. I see exactly what you're doing, and it's a perfectly valid way to play it. But you're not.
It's not the way. It's not the way it is on the record, because the way you're playing it sounds identical to the record. So I believe the way you're playing it is correct.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this: the way that you're doing it is still a perfectly valid way to play it in this sense. Like when you look at Eddie playing it on Oakland, he's playing it like he did on the records. He's holding the chords, but he is really palm muting that whole intro. He's really not letting the notes ring out anywhere near as much as he does on the record.
Because he can't, because he's got too much distortion. He's using too much overdrive. That's why.
Correct, you got it. And the harmonizer also adds to the CF of the sound, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. But yeah, and so when you do the Oakland version, he's definitely just playing it way more staccato. He's just like.
Yeah. Don't play the Oakland version. There'll be a problem with it. Don't.
Oh no, he's not. He's not.
Okay.
I meant the actual video. Don't play the audio from the actual video of the song.
Okay, never mind. You can play.
No, him playing the Oakland version on his guitar is fine.
Okay.
Well, you never know because on YouTube the copyright lawyers are so weird. I remember, like, I guess it was a couple of years ago when I posted my little. I have a version of Hot for Teacher that I did, and they thought it was like like the Guitar Hero isolated track, and they told me they took it down for copyright violation because they were acting like it was the real track, and I'm like, no, but thanks. And they ended up putting it back up because I like contested it and I explained, oh, I'm just kind of doing this as a demonstration and this is me actually playing it, you know. That doesn't say anything about my playing. It says more about the lawyer's ears because if they can't tell the difference between me and Eddie playing it, then they're crazy.
Well, I'm not crazy, and what you just did sounds just the way Eddie did. It's you have the Eddie thing. You have it. There's just there's no contest. There's no contest to that. You have the Eddie thing. You got it.
Well, thank you very much. It's one of the ones that's really it's easy to cop. Like not everybody has an Eventide harmonizer, so it's harder to cop the tone of say, Panama or Girl Gone Bad or the balance tone if you like that stuff and. Not everybody has a harmonizer, but it's pretty easy for most people to get their hands on a good vintage MXR flanger or even an EVH flanger, and you can get away with it. And a delay pedal, and a lot of people have regular old Strats. It's not like a mystery. It's not like, oh God, what did he use a super distortion or what? It's not like a mysterious pickup thing. It's just a vintage Strat in between positions. It's the Mark Knopfler sound rears its ugly head again with Van Halen, and he loved that sound. And of course, his probably the one song where he played the entire song like that was "Finish What You Started."
Yeah.
He loves that sound. And rightfully so. It's a great sound that just cannot be achieved on any humbucker equipped guitar, really.
Right.
No, yeah, it's like you can coil tap and you can have push-pull pots and this kind of that, but it doesn't really exactly quite get it just right. There's ways that you can kind of mess around with it, but you're not going to get the exact tone, which is why, people, if you see Eddie play any of those songs, if you see him play Hear About It Later, or you hear him play Women in Love live, the intros never sound anywhere near as good as they did on the record. It's too much distortion. Right. It's not, it's not that super clean, beautiful. What's the tone?
Chimey.
Chimey. That's the tone. Yeah. That everybody, equates that word chimey with your, compressed electric 12 strings like you hear from the Byrds and on the intro of In a Simple Rhyme. And you equate chimey with the great country players like James Burton and Albert Lee, and then of course I mean, and of course Van Halen's not the only act to do this in the studio. I'm sure many other bands totally ripped that off, and as Scotty said, that was a real common thing in the '80s. Although most people just did it like a chorus pedal. They take their the out of phase sound from a Strat, stick it through a chorus pedal, and their kind of intros and songs. Of course, Andy Summers did that an awful lot. As big of a fan as you are of him, Andy Summers did an awful lot of that kind of stuff.
My man.
And Andy Summers would use like an Electric Mistress, say, instead of an MXR flanger, the old.
Yeah.
Mistress.
Well, he used both. He used both because I have if you get the what's the album? What's see, now I can't even think. What's the album with their three faces, but it's like logos? It's black. It has Ghost in the Machine.
Yeah,
Ghost in the Machine. Yeah.
I've got the Ghost in the Machine tour book, and on the back page it has all their gear listing that they used for live. So I photocopied those, back in the days of photocopying, and I sent it off to this police tribute band, to show exactly what the guys use live or whatever, right? But anyway, yeah, you can see all of Andy's pedals. What is that? A piece of bread?
This? No, I got my mail. I got my mail from Rob.
Thought you were making a sandwich.
Yeah, I am. Out of tuning peg buttons.
Cool. But no, anyway, so you can see all of Andy's gear for that tour, and you can see MXR flangers, MXR choruses, Electric Mistress, everything, all his guitars, all Sting's equipment, all Stewart's, everything.
Yeah, of course, by that time, Andy was using the Bradshaw rack. He was one of the first guys that was using Bradshaw gear, both in the studio and live, and you'll see Andy run through some of the tones like he does, I think he might do a bit of Driven to Tears, and he certainly does, what's my favorite song I play a lot?
They couldn't find any.
Bring On the Night. He runs through the little bit of Bring On the Night.
You're talking about the Jules Holland.
Jules Holland, exactly.
The Jules Holland part where they're out there. They're in where were they? They're at the studio. They're in Montserrat. Yeah. Oh man, that footage is amazing, man. Yeah, I bought it when that DVD came out.
It really helped me figure out how to play the intro to Bring On the Night. I mean, that's a tough little bit, and he explains that he got it's like his part of his classical learning from Villa Lobos, and he kind of used that to come up with that intro. And that's Bring On the Night is one of my absolute favorite songs from the Police. We need to do another whole hangout about the Police because I love them. I love.
Dude,
I'm gonna ask you to do me a favor, Alan.
Yeah.
Since you have your Strat and that sound out and available, play the intro to Women in Love.
Not on your life.
We'll make this a double shot. Let's make this a double shot.
I would have to tune my guitar different. It would take me a minute to tune the guitar, right? Because I'm drop D.
Well, just tune it up to E.
I hate to do that. Okay.
Are we done? Are we done with Hear About Later then? Because once he tunes it up, all the scents go all different directions.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to go over the intro. I'll tell you what.
Go over it some more.
And while you're at it, play Bring On the Night as well, please.
Yeah, really.
But no, like what you were saying, though, man.
Listen, we're gonna razz you now because we got you here. You got our attention. You teased us just a little bit. So now you're our biatch.
You got it. Well, I'll tell you, it really would sound. I promise that on another hangout, I will do something about the Women in Love intro. I'm happy to go over that because again, it is the Strat. And of course, I like to get everything perfectly, exactly in tune with the record. So it'll take me a minute to do that. I could grab it and start doing it, but it's not going to be as cool.
Oh, excuses.
I know.
Just like a regular guitar player.
Around with that because there's a little bit of harmonizer on different parts. I'm playing around. There's actually a setting on the Eventide H9 that they call "Women in Love," which has the delay setting for the tapped intro, and then it's got sort of a some of the chorusy sound.
Yeah.
So actually, it might be good. I'll actually do another one just like this about the Women in Love intro maybe next time after I've had a chance to dial in the H9 and kind of play around with that too. This is why all this stuff is terrible for me because like I have no live setup. I've just got a whole bunch of friggin' pedals strewn across the floor. I've never had a working pedal.
We all do.
Yeah, it's terrible. Man, I mean, please. Well, you're Mr. Gigging Professional. You've got a totally awesome pedal board, which I
but it's still just pedals. It's not like a magic. It's not magic. And
true.
And I don't really dial it in the way exactly the way you do. I don't dial that stuff in. I'm more of a I'll get it as close as I can and go because I can't I have no hair to pull out of my head to get it perfect.
Well, he doesn't either.
Well, me neither. And it's just, of course, you know how I like to get into the minutiae and everything, and it's but it kind of yields some results. I mean, it's like you really learn an awful lot, because like you said, the question was like, how could this sound good and it's still 34 cents out of tune?
That's I can't fathom it. I can't fathom how my guitar sounds perfectly in tune, perfectly in tune to 440, and it doesn't sound. I mean, even if it was E flat and it was that perfectly in tune, it still doesn't sound the way you did it. It's just amazing to me how a guitar can that tune and sound that good.
Well, thank you. It's really, well, yeah, I know, and that's the weird thing, and it was like a major discovery for me because I did not understand that it was individual. Not only is it weird overall tunings, it's also the fact that the different strings are majorly out of tune with each other. That is the whole thing. I keep going on about it. It's so. I mean, it was fascinating for me to figure that out finally, and now that I have my trusty Peterson tuner to help me, figure out and notate what exactly each string is tuned to on all of the records. It's just endlessly fascinating to me. I'm like, I can't believe. I mean, and I used to just really majorly tear my hair out, as you can see, as we've noted.
That's what happened.
Honey, you're not far behind. You're not far behind. That's why you wear a hat.
You're a great guitar player, man. But that's, you had to pay the price, to get the tone.
Yeah.
Look at Satriani. Satriani's amazing, and look at him.
Yeah, he's bald. He looks like an alien.
Yeah, but getting back to the Strat thing really quickly. This is something I want to ask you, because you were talking about you can use a humbucker, you can coil tap, all that stuff. So the reason none of that sounds exact, because those even when you coil tap a humbucker, that coil still isn't lined up the same.
You got it. That's right.
That's the reason, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like this. It's like this compared to like this. Hello? Somebody? I'm echoing again.
I don't know. I can see myself being frozen. I'm like doing the robot here.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, why is it echoing again?
I don't know. Am I echoing it off?
No, but you're getting really, really garbered.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, I'm totally frozen on my end. I'm garbage to hell.
Look at that face! Oh my gosh, that was scary. Okay, wait, you're there. I'm like echoing though. Echo bad.
I'll tell you what, guys.
Yeah.
Let me cut it short because
Hang on.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, I'm holding.
No. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I've got some toilets that I need to scrub, but
Okay.
I will.
Cool.
I'll tell you what. Next, it's a good suggestion, David. I'll do something about the Women in Love intro next time I get with you guys. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds like a robot. Okay, cool. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Thanks, Allen Garber. Thank you, man. That sounded amazing. Let's hope we don't get popped for copyright infringement, because that riff, that sounded like the album. I have a feeling we're gonna get busted with this one, because that sounded just like it.
It's an educational experience covered under fair use. All right, guys. Take care. Thanks for getting on with me.
All right, Robot.
See you guys later.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, Alan.
All right.
Thank you, man.
See you
Take
guys.
care, buddy.
All right.
Bye.
See ya. Hello.
That was Robot. Robot
Okay, yeah.
Garber.
We're back. Cool. Hey. So yeah, we got some questions, comments. Let me do this. Thank you. Oh yeah, real quick, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Cody Van Halen. He featured Howie the Dalmatian on his page yesterday.
Isn't that nice of him?
Yeah. Well, they go way back.
That's so nice of him.
Cody and Howie actually do go way back. Brosh 5150 20 minutes ago says, "Great videos, guys. I watch everyone and support what you guys do. You've inspired me to finally start building the shark replica I've always wanted. Thanks." Yeah, well, thank you, man. Thank you. And hey, yeah, when you're done with it, we'd like to see it. That'd be really cool. Really cool.
I'd like to own it. When you're done with it, send it here.
Here's one. This is actually from like 12 hours ago. So this relates to yesterday's video with Jimmy. Dutchy 5150 says, "Cool guitars, Jimmy. Congrats. The Red Wolf is definitely on my list of guitars to buy this year. Awesome t-shirt too." Okay. I don't think I read that yesterday, but
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, man. The red guitar, his red guitar was great, but the guitar, the white one, wow. It was so good. Like, I mean, I in a million years would say that the Standard is a good guitar. That particular one was ridiculously good. It was so, I mean, it was really, really good. Remember the blue one that I played at Music Zoo, and I told you it was garbage. I couldn't handle even looking at it, let alone playing it.
okay.
Well, this one was so the opposite of that. It was ridiculously good. Even out of the box, it wasn't set up well, but the neck felt fantastic.
Oh yeah, those necks feel great.
And once I set it up, it was perfect. I mean, the guitar was something I would own. It was amazing.
Those necks feel great. The total opposite of the budget PV version that they did.
Yeah.
Those guitars were painful, but the EVH Indonesian Wolfgang standards, yeah, the necks feel great.
Really good.
They really do.
It was.
I mean, they're great guitars, and it doesn't hurt to upgrade the bridge. And there you go. Upgrade the bridge, upgrade the nut, like you probably did yesterday.
We didn't upgrade the nut because it's top mounted. It's not bottom mounted. But we upgraded the bridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Indonesian's all top mounted.
Oh, okay. I don't remember.
Yeah. But
cool.
we put the F1000 Korean Floyd Rose on that guitar, and man, even with the Korean Floyd, what a difference. It was great.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, Philip Reed Wallace. Hopefully you're watching this, or you got to watch some of this anyway. He's really been wanting to watch these things live, and he actually jumped in earlier. He was commenting on Facebook, so that's why I was trying to get us going as fast as we could, because he was wanting to watch. Let's see. Just looking for any comments or questions on Facebook.
So,
And yeah, anybody watching this?
Real quick,
comments?
I just want to give a shout out to Rob Johnson for sending me these 2 packages of the Perloid buttons for my guitars. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. And I'll thank you again later when we're on a chat, if we're on a chat later. Rob Johnson, thank you so much. I got him.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what he's doing. I wonder if he wants to do a hangout later.
Yeah, I think he does.
Because
he spoke to me. He spoke last night to me during, when he was at work at like 2 a.m. And he was like, yeah, when we talk tomorrow night, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, what are we going to talk about? He says, I don't know. We'll figure it out, but we got to chat tomorrow night. Tell Johnny.
Cool. Yeah, I do see some texting. I don't know if I was. Yeah, I do see some because we're in a.
Yeah, you were working on your computer. You were working on your Windows 10.
We have a group text that we do, so I do see something. How he was 10 o'clock, 10:30 my time. He was. Yeah, 1:30. You guys' time. He was out. Yeah. I had a nightmare. I'm not going to go into it on this, but yeah. I was having computer issues all day yesterday and finally got some of it. That's why I'm on here right now. I got it resolved. Although I do have some other stuff I do have to figure out. Yeah. Well, that was cool, man. I'm going to have to, anybody watching this later, you're going to hear about it later, man. Anybody watch? Yeah. I'm going to have to put well, anybody who's actually watching this, if you're watching this now, cool. Allen Garber just did a tone lesson on the Hear About It Later intro from the album. Not necessarily how to play the song. Although, what's the one chord? Do you know the one chord where it's like all the way up here, and there's one particular chord at the very, very end of that intro. Do you know what chord that is?
Well, I do it differently. It's not. I don't hold the chord down. Yeah, hang on. Let me get another picture.
I was going to ask him about that because I've done the chord.
Can you see this at all?
Mm-hmm.
You tune the E string down to D, of course, and you play it at you bar the 5th fret, the E, A, and D string.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the string, you're playing the A. The A.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't hold a guitar like that.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the part I was talking about though.
Yeah, well, it's the stretch. It's the one stretch that he did.
Okay.
But I don't hold it. I don't hold it in a chord. I do it single notes, and it's not exactly the way it is on the record, but it's the same notes.
I actually posted a photo like over a year ago. I posted a photo of myself holding that chord. I have like a selfie of just my hand, but I've got a chord selfie.
It's hard. The chord is.
I'll have to look back and see what that is. That's the craziest. It's the craziest chord though you've ever seen.
Oh, it's hang on. That's it right there.
Yeah. Well, I think your hands are so big it looks normal for you. But to anybody else, it looks insane. If you have smaller hands.
Well, no, my hands are small. I can hardly reach it. I'm telling you, I can't even reach it. I can hardly reach it. And I have
your neck looks backwards too.
Man, I can't do it for too long. It hurts my arm.
Oh, Allen's watching us. The chord is fingered.
I can't do it now.
Okay, Allen chimes in.
Yeah, it's tough to do. It's tough.
Allen says the chord is fingered with the well, let me read what he's saying, although he made some. The chord is fingered with the index, middle, and pinky on the 5th fret of the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings, with the rest open. Oops, I meant index, middle, and ring fingers.
No, No, it can't be.
Well, be careful because Alan's probably going to jump back in here.
It's middle ring, and pinky on the 5th fret.
Alan's going to jump back
like
in holding the toilet brush, holding a plunger.
And then your pointer is on the G string of the 2nd fret. That's it. That's the chord. Oh man, that hurts.
Hey, Alan. Yeah, that was an amazing job, Alan. If you're watching this, that sounded like I said. We're gonna get busted for copyright with your
Alan, jump back
with
in
your
here for a
version of
second.
that because that sounded exact. I'm afraid the YouTube robots are gonna think that was the actual album because it sounded exactly like it.
Alan, jump back in here for 1 second if you can.
Huh? Yes, David is right, Alan says. David is right, Alan. What did I just say? Holy crap. Oh, it's David Allen Wright. I said David Wright Allen. I'm sure one of those guys exists too, though, you know? Yeah. Speaking of David Allen Wright, man, I miss that dude. We got to get that guy back in here. Probably like on a Sunday or something. Sunday. It's David Allen Wright. And his Full Rose.
That is a tough stretch, man.
Let's see.
That stretch on that one chord is just like the stretch on the Ice Cream Man solo. It's just really ridiculous, that stretch.
The Ice Cream Man stretch, I got down no problem. I've been doing that my whole life.
Well, that's because you have long fingers.
No, I don't. Not really. Not really. You know, I used to hang out with Alex Skolnick.
I've got these sausages on my hand.
I used to hang with Alex Skolnick in between lessons because he would teach lessons at the shop that we used to both work at, and I would hang out with him, and we would actually talk Van Halen. We would talk Fair Warning, all the stuff we're doing now. Alex Skolnick and I did years ago, but it was just us, you know. And yeah, his fingers are like this long each, you know. They go up to like there.
Yeah.
Oh, Allen Garber says it is middle ring and pinky on the 5th fret.
Correct.
And the index for the A note on the 2nd fret of the G string.
Yeah.
With the open B and open E.
E, yeah.
He says.
Excuse me. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Gosh. All right.
Man, I can't do it.
Diamond Dave.
I can't do it.
Diamond Dave Lucy says, hey guys. Hey Diamond Dave Lucy, how are you, man? Cool. All right. Oh, I've got a lot of Philip. You left me a lot of comments on yesterday's video.
Holy moly! So let's get to them real quick.
A lot of comments. Well, I have a feeling we're gonna have to do a different one for that. Oh, Alan says he can't jump back in. He's cleaning toilets.
Oh, all right.
So it's all good. It's all good.
All right, Mr. Tidy Ball Man.
Cool. Well, Alan, thank you.
Or is that Mr. Telephone Man?
Huh? I don't know.
Said,
all right.
Okay, Mr. Tidy Ball Man.
Okay. All right. We're out of here. Thank you guys for watching this stuff. I think we might jump back in later on this evening. Because I think Rob Johnson will want to do something. So Allen Garber, thank you very much. It's always awesome. And yes, when you want to do a hangout for those other songs you were just talking about earlier, discussions, and let's do more Andy Summers stuff too. Yeah, because he's my other favorite. So okay, all right, Dave Nesdahl, awesome.
Yeah,
Johnny Bean, JohnnyBean.com. Thank you everybody for watching this stuff. Please share, like, and subscribe. It helps us out. People do enjoy watching this stuff. So thank you for watching and enjoying. And we'll be back later tonight. So jump back in. See, that's why it helps if you subscribe. Because if you subscribe to the channel, it tells you, like on your smartphone.
Yeah.
You know, once well, actually no, it wouldn't, would it? It only tells you when I upload a video, which is usually after the fact if we go live. So that actually wouldn't help. Although you can follow me on Facebook, actually. Yeah. All right. Either way. All right. Goodbye. See
So long.
you later. Happy Friday, everybody. See you, Dave.